Wake up, time to die. Which actually, that came from Blade Runner. I only discovered that a few years ago that they were quoting Blade Runner when they said that. Yes, Guns N' Roses. I recently discovered they had a Blu-ray, a 3D Blu-ray. I had no idea. So I'm very happy to find this. What I like about these music 3D Blu-rays is they always have a little booklet in there, and I like that. That's a nice touch. I wish movies would include booklets like the music people do. Now, Guns N' Roses. I'm a fan. You know, I don't think it's ever been popular to admit that you're a fan of Guns N' Roses. They certainly earn a great deal of disrespect. And I'm not going to suggest anyone is wrong for not giving them a lot of respect. They do a lot of strange things. Now, like most live shows, once you see what the 3D is in the first 10 minutes, it really doesn't change throughout the show. You got your angles, and there you go. It is a long show. This is like 2 hours and 45 minutes, which is pretty long for a 3D presentation. Now, I never found myself getting tired of it. That may be because I really enjoyed the band. I mean, when it comes to music, Blu-rays, you're either into the music or you're not. If you're not into the music, the visuals aren't going to help. So it's music first, visuals second. And just to talk about the music for just a moment before I get back to the 3D. Now, as someone who's heard this version of the band and seen a few recordings of them, this is probably the best example of them live. Now, I didn't notice any dead giveaways, but I would be very surprised if this hasn't been touched up in the studio afterwards. The mix is flawless. The performances are very consistent, and it's really the best example of this version of the band live that you're going to come across anywhere. But about the 3D, what I found strange is the good 3D shots were always at the side of the stage where you were looking at one of the guitarists, and the drums had a good 3D. But when you're pulling back and looking at some of these effects, like they got acrobats and him flying around with his piano, and also the center camera that focused on Axel there, the depth wasn't so great when we're looking in the middle of the stage where the front man spends most of his time. Now I don't know if it was intentional, though it does help to kind of break things up when you're focused on the middle, then cut away to a very dynamic shot, and then come back to, I guess, what you could consider the trunk of the show. So in a weird way, it does kind of work. Now, what you're looking at here is one of the very last shows of this version of the band. You sort of had your original Guns N' Roses, and then most of the original people went away, and then this kind of misfit version was born around 2000, and it lasted until this, which is what, 2014, I think this came out. So this was, yeah, they had a last run of shows in Las Vegas, and this is one of them. So you're really seeing an end of an era. Within a couple of years, original members would return, and well, they'd become a stadium band that would go on stage on time. Imagine that. As a kid, back in 1993, the original version of the band rolled through town, and now I was not allowed to go, but I pretended I was just going over to my friend's place, and we headed over to the arena to see them. And unfortunately, they didn't, there's no internet at that time to warn you of what the real deal was, so they didn't go on stage until, I don't know. But I didn't get home until like 2, 3 in the morning, and by that time, parents had communicated with each other, and they knew where I was, and just got that shook and disappointed head. That was my first experience with them. Years later, well, there are no parents to worry about, but this version of the band rolled through town. But I had to work that night, so I couldn't go. But after work, I walked by our arena. I happened to work nearby, And I noticed that didn't seem to be, everyone still seemed to be in there, and I didn't hear anything going on. So at like 11 o'clock at night, I walked in and uh, realized the show hadn't started. So I bought a ticket, and the show still wouldn't start for another hour. and and when it did start, it actually went until like, what, 4 in the morning, I think. The sun was up by the time I went home that night. I can't think of any other band that did that. Maybe a rave. Notice that guitar he's holding. It's a guitar usually kind of used in old-timey type of music, but it's actually what gives this band its really unique sound, though the Les Paul usually gets all the attention. Well, here goes another one. I've got a few other 3D music Blu-rays that I hope to get to in the next few weeks. So, Smashing Pumpkins, and of course Metallica, and a country one too.